USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Acura dares to drive beyond standard. A torque vectoring super handling all-wheel drive system, standard in the Acura RDX. Panoramic moonroof and premium 3-row seating, standard in the Acura MDX. Sound that surrounds you, an 18-speaker Bang & Olufsen premium sound system comes standard in the all-electric ZDX, the Acura RDX, ZDX, and MDX, where precision meets craftsmanship. Visit Acura.com to learn more.
I just MailChimped my marketing.
You MailChimped your what?
I MailChimped my marketing with AI to create an effective marketing campaign in minutes.
No, MailChimp way.
Yes, MailChimp way. Now I can hyper-personalize my campaigns across email and SMS.
You can do all that with MailChimp?
What did I just MailChimp and say?
MailChimp your marketing with the #1 AI-powered email marketing and automation platform, Intuit MailChimp. #1 based on publicly available data on competitors' customers. Plans vary. SMS available as add-ons. Visit MailChimp.com.
Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show. And with me right now, I've got a very special guest. He has worked for numerous independent wrestling promotions across the country. He's currently working for CHW Wrestling out in Ashland City, Tennessee. Pleased to welcome the one and only Nick White. Welcome, Nick, to Wrestling with Heart.
Hey, man, it's good to be here. It's good to be on the show, man.
Yeah, for sure. So, where are you from, Nick? Are you from around Nashville or the greater Middle Tennessee area?
So, I was born in Memphis. I moved to Mount Juliet, which is right outside Nashville, when I was like 3. Lived there until about 10 years ago when I moved out to Ashland City. So, yeah.
All right. So Tennessee native.
Yeah, man, been here most of my life. I did, when I was in my early 20s, I did like the travel around the country thing. I lived in California for a little bit, Florida, Texas, kind of just saw the country, but Tennessee's always been home. So
Yeah. And the cool thing is like it's not just with Nashville, with Memphis, Tennessee has just such a chock full of history of professional wrestling. I mean, you go back to the days of Jerry Lawler and Jackie Fargo
yeah,
and
for sure.
Tojo Yamamoto and Len Rossi and all these guys back in the day, and you see the evolution of how wrestling has changed in Tennessee and all these independent promotions that have risen up and just really kept that legacy alive. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up, late 80s, early 90s. I tell this story a lot. Like, my favorite tag team in the world was PG-13. Like, I thought Wolfie D and JC Ice were the coolest dudes on the planet. And then, when I finally got in the business at 20, my first match was against Wolfie D. And I remember telling him, like, distinctly before the match, I had met him at an autograph signing. And I was like, one day I'm going to wrestle you. And then my first match ends up being against him. But yeah, man, like, it's so cool now working shows with these guys that are legends. Like, I mean, I've been on shows with Jeff Jarrett and the Dundees and Ricky Morton. And, it's like, I remember when I was 6 watching you on TV at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning.
Yeah, you just get those jitters, you're excited about it, and you're like on cloud 9 because you're around these guys that you grew up watching. And doing some research on you, so your earliest memory or when you got into wrestling was right around WrestleMania 3 with Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant.
Yeah, my mom tells this story all the time. She's like, we were visiting her family, which was from Mississippi, and they were watching WrestleMania 3. And I was 3 years old. My mom said, I parked myself in front of the television. I saw Hogan slam Andre, and that was 38 years ago now, and I still haven't turned off wrestling. It's just one of those things, man. I got addicted, and it's been my lifelong love, man. It's been there for me when nothing else
Yeah,
was, so
it's an escape, and
yeah.
whenever you're going through something or struggling through something, uh, you it's there for you. And
Exactly.
so, but that's a good time to really get into it because this was like during the golden era, like the peak of that era with Hogan and Macho Man and all these different guys, Andre, um, and just it was a hot time in the business. And obviously there were others that followed, but guys like Hogan and Andre really were larger than life characters. They were like superheroes to so
Oh
many
yeah.
people.
Yeah, and like I mean, my first like real distinct memory of wrestling was going to a house show with my dad in like '89, and Randy Savage was on the card. I'm sitting right by the aisleway, and he points at me. And I remember my dad says he doesn't remember this part, but that I remember distinctly going, "Well, I'm going to do that one day, Daddy." Because Randy Savage has always been my favorite. I think Randy Savage is the GOAT. It's a coin flip between him and Shawn Michaels in my world. But Randy Savage was just, like you said, larger than life. It was so cool. And like I've always been the guy that loves the bad guys, even when I was little. So
Well, I think it's interesting. Randy Savage had like these colorful outfits and the costumes, and you see guys like Shawn Michaels was one of those guys that really kind of carried that over with the chaps and all the glitter that he would used to come out with in his ring entrances
yeah,
and.
all the mirrors and the,
Hmm.
especially when he was with Sensational Sherry when he first
Hmm.
started the heel run, and she would bring the mirror out for him, and he was checking his hair the whole time, which is so ironic that those were the characters I love, and now I do a backwoods serial killer gimmick. But hey, whatever.
Raven was another inspiration of yours as well.
Yeah, Raven is not my goat, but probably my favorite wrestler of all time. Just because, when Raven was hot in '97, '98, and then when he did his initial or not his initial, but his WCW run with that character, I was 14, 15, 16 years old, right?
Hmm.
Here I am, like a, little emo nerdy kid, and there's this guy, and he's like, oh, well, this is what I would look like if I was a wrestler, right? Like when you make your video game version of yourself, like I would
Create a
have called
wrestler.
myself Raven in the late '90s.
Hmm.
And ECW was so mind blowing to me as a concept, and then Raven was the forefront of that. So yeah, I love Raven. A lot of my promo style, like if you watch some of the stuff me and JC do, a lot of my promo style is based on Raven, Jake Roberts, and Eddie Kingston. That I don't need to scream in my promos kind of deal. I'm gonna make you listen to me whisper.
Yeah, and there's like just like a variety of the difference between like the screaming element of it and just like this brooding, just dark, very serious monotone
Yeah,
demeanor that you're giving off. And so yeah, those are really good influences. And I think it's cool to have those characters too because uh it's good to have that variety. It's good to have that a little bit of everything. Not, over the top is fun, but the serious ones I feel like are just as good.
yeah,
I mean, where else can you really find that? So, so you knew you wanted to get into the business at such a young age. Um, Talk to me about like the first time you went to training school, wrestling school. Um,
yeah. I kind of did it. It was a little strange the way I really got into it. Um, I am not necessarily the best athlete on the planet. I got two left feet. I'm super awkward. Anyone who's ever seen me wrestle knows it's not good. But um, I knew I could talk. Talking, I was. You'll be shocked to hear I was like a drama kid in high school. You know what I mean? Like I was one of those. And I saw an ad on USWO Wrestling, which used to come on channel 74 at 12:30 in the morning on Saturdays when I was 19, 20 years old. And it was like, hey, if you're looking to be a manager, a referee, a ring announcer, you know, hit us up. So I emailed the guy at USWO, Timmy Thomason, known as Crawl, and I said, look, I'm sure wrestling is not in my future, but I would love to do anything within the business. And he's like, come to the show this Friday. We'll talk. We'll see what we can find out. Talked to him that week. The next Friday night, I debuted as a backstage interviewer. Because they didn't have one at the time, and they were like, we'll see what the kid can do. So I started doing backstage interviews, in-ring interviews, um, and the fans could not stand me. I would get in the ring and just immediately get booed because they had a ring. They had already had a ring announcer who everybody loved, and it was just like, we don't want this guy, we want our guy. Nore Havoc, Eron Hatchet, looked at me and he goes, "Man, you just get natural heel heat. What if we make you a manager?" Um, so I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, I was a guy that grew up loving Paulie Dangerously and Bobby Heenan and Jimmy Hart. So I was like, yeah, sure, that'd be cool. So the initial gimmick that I had as a manager was Waterboy Nick. I was the water boy for the Hero Killers. I walked around and I had my towel and I brought bottles of water to everybody. I had cargo pants that had bottles of water in every pocket. I was ready for the deal. Well, slowly but surely, they were like, we're gonna have to have you wrestle at some point. They want to see you get beat up. So I was probably 6 months into the business before I ever took my first bump. Originally, I trained under LT Falk and Slacker J. And then Slacker J kind of took me in, had me in his little circle of friends, which included JC Crow, Josh Crow. So I've known those guys for 22 years at this point. And yeah, I went on the road with Slacker. I was refereeing at every show he was on, and then just trying to train little bit by little bit. And like I said, at no point did I ever consider myself a wrestler, but he at least taught me enough to get by and not make a complete fool of myself in the ring.
Well, I think the cool thing is about the wrestling business is that you don't just have to be a wrestler. You could be a manager or commentator. There's
Yeah,
all
for
different
sure.
kinds of roles, and so
That's what I
you
love
found
about this
yourself.
business is if you really will apply yourself, you will find something that works for you. I've seen plenty of guys that were like me that, couldn't do a freaking wrist lock from a wristwatch, but they could get a microphone and annoy the crap out of 300 people in a clip. You know what I mean? And you make them a manager. Or somebody that's really smart about ring positioning and ring psychology, you make them a really good referee. You don't have to just. So many people fail at being a wrestler and they quit the business. And I've seen so many great minds. They're like, man, if that guy had just thought, let me be a commentator so I can tell my story, or I can tell the story of everything that's happening in the ring. Let me be a referee or what have you. You know, but it's a tough business. When you have that dream of being a wrestler, it is hard to let go of. So yeah,
Yeah, and I think that it also adds longevity to your career as well when you're able to find other roles in the business because people, companies need commentators or announcers or
definitely.
managers or referees. I mean, it's just as important to the industry as the wrestler itself.
I mean, I've seen so many shows where a bad referee can make a good match average, but a great referee can make a good match great. Where the ring announcer, just adding that level of hype to a match beforehand. That people don't realize how important even a ring announcer is. You're not just saying the names of the wrestlers. You're you're building, especially with the intonations and things that you use to describe that talent, even in the little 3, 4 sentences you're using, you're building that character above and beyond what they've now seen with the entrance. Like that's the little things in wrestling that people don't put together. Everybody thinks that the wrestling is the bell to bell. No, the wrestling starts at the curtain and ends at the curtain. And everybody that plays a part in between is what's telling that story.
Exactly. I mean, to me, the characters and personalities are vital to the wrestling show because it draws in the audience and people want to keep coming back every week, whether it's watching it live or watching it on television,
Yeah.
because they want to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah. Yeah. The show you're working isn't the show you're selling tickets to. That ticket's been sold. The show you're working on that particular Friday, Saturday, whatever night is the preview for the next show. And that's how you have to think of it. What am I doing tonight that's going to draw next month's audience? You know, me and Aaron talked about this, Aaron Camaro, at the last show. I'm not worried about the people that are coming tonight. Those tickets are sold. How am I selling tickets for July and August? What story are me and JC and Jason Xavier or whoever else going to tell that's going to make those people come back in 2 months and go, God, I've seen this and this and this. I got to see this.
Exactly. And you've been a part of CHW now for a while. Talk to me about how you got involved with the company, and you had been friends with JC Crow for a while, known them for a long time, and talk to me about how you guys started working together and your journey now with CHW.
So yeah, me and JC and Josh, like I said earlier, we've known each other for 20 some odd years now. And it's funny because the three of us as a group have never actually worked together. JC and Josh have tagged. I've managed Josh. I've managed JC, but it's never been the three of us. So this whole Cult of Crow thing that's about to really kick off is going to be so much fun for all of us. But yeah, the funny part with me and JC is I was actually managing a guy named Mike Jablonski, and we were like, man, our singles run is kind of like we've done everything we can do. We'd like to do a tag team deal. We ran into JC at a benefit show, and they formed a team called the Ink Express. And it was weird because me and Mike were really, really good friends. We had done a whole lot of stuff for 6, 7 years together. And then me and JC kind of realized our vision of what we wanted everything to be was more in line with what me and Mike were thinking and what Mike and JC were thinking. So Mike took some time off. Me and JC started a singles run, and it's been me and JC, pretty much nonstop for 10 years. I mean, we took 5 years off, 6 years off, between COVID and families and things like that. And then he got hurt. It was a whole lot of stuff. But then CHW came around. Like I said, I live in Ashland City. The show is literally 4 minutes from my house. I could walk to the show if I had to. JC lives out here in Ashland City as well. The funny part was I really didn't intend on coming back. I was pretty comfortable with being dad at home on Saturday nights with the kids. And I went by the show to visit, had some friends that were working, Lee Byford and Draven Lee. This was August of last year. A couple other guys. I was like, well, let me just go by and say hey. So I go by, I say hey, and any wrestler knows if you end up in a locker room 95% of the time, somebody's going to offer you a booking. So I get to talking to Aaron. He pitches me this idea for me and the Red Demon. And then I was like, well, I'll do that, but I want it to lead to JC coming back. And JC was completely against it. He was like, no, I want to be home. Then JC comes and visits the next month, sees how everything goes. I will say this, and I'm not just saying it because I still work there. I will say this out loud to anyone that will listen. I think Aaron Camaro may run one of the best locker rooms I have ever been a part of. That dude thinks so far in advance. It's what made me and him bond so much because we both think the same way. We both think about the 6 month in advance bookings. We're not worried about this week. We're worried about 6 months. And he's super cool on listening to ideas, taking his ideas and tweaking them. And all the ideas he's come with me so far, some of them I've needed to tweak a little bit for my character, because I am super protective over the Nick White character. But it's been great. JC came back. We've been doing this awesome feud with Jason Xavier. It's been a ton of fun. CHW has been a blast. And my kids, the big thing that really got me to come back is my kids never got to see the Nick White character in person. They've seen YouTube, they've seen JC Crow on YouTube, but they've never seen Nick White and JC in person. Now my kids have finally gotten to see that, see their dad and their uncle, you know, in the ring. So that's been a ton of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you guys get so much heat when you come out, and I've seen you in action. I mean, you definitely get the crowd really turning on you, like against you. I mean, it's unbelievable how much the reactions of the crowd, they are just like,
It's one of those things. I've never understood why it happens. I've just been very accepting and happy that it does. That people just see us and don't like us. You know, they see a couple of dudes covered in tattoos. Maybe it's the masks. Maybe it's the fact that we wear people's faces to the ring. I don't know. It used to be, I used to do the gangrel blood spit and everything,
Mhm.
and people would get all freaked out about that. I think it's just we're so different and we're so outside of the box of what you see in Tennessee wrestling. Because Tennessee heels are so, it's very Jeff Jarrett, it's very AJ Styles heel run when you see a younger guy and he's super talented and he's just cocky. We're not cocky. We're just dudes that like to hurt people. And I like to hurt him mentally, and he likes to hurt him physically. And you put that together, and now we've got this heater and Josh Crow with us, who's just, you know, built like a brick S house, and can do ridiculous things for a guy his size. I mean, it's going to be a wild run over the next few months.
yeah, I mean, not to mention the psychology of everything, ring psychology, and also with the character work as well, because that's just as important.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that, especially with me and JC, that's the one thing we've always clicked on, ever since we started working together, is that psychology of if we're going to be these dark characters, we don't want to be over the top with it. We don't need to have magical powers and, have fire. It doesn't need to be Undertaker and Kane. You can be just as scary looking like a normal human being and doing abnormal things. We haven't done anything that's been big and over the top yet. We will. Don't worry. But we haven't done anything that's been ridiculous. It's just scary because we're that sin with a grin. We're the guy you see at the grocery store and you're like, oh, something about that guy feels off. When we're not wearing the masks, you still, we're the guy that you're like, oh, I see him coming down the aisle. Let me go to the next one. I can get the butter later.
It's a different take on the dark characters, the
Yeah.
scary characters, which I think is interesting. I like to see variations of it, and I think it's good to have that.
Yeah, and I mean that's what we've done ever since we've been together. Like we've always, JC used to carry the axe, and we'll do the bloody stuff and then the hardcore fighting stuff. But JC is I always say JC is the most violent dude I've ever known, and he doesn't need any weapons. Like you watch his matches and the way he'll take a guy and put him over the guardrail and just start forearming him and headbutting him, and you're just like, he really might hurt someone. And that's how I want people to feel. I want people to feel like how I felt when I would watch, like when I got older and I'd watch Brody and Sabu and Cactus Jack, guys like that. Like someone might legitimately get injured in a JC Crow match, even though they're probably fine. They're going to look like they're dying.
It's the suspense of disbelief. That's
Exactly.
that's 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 important.
Yeah.
Um, well, outside of wrestling, I know you've been involved with a lot of charity organizations or have done charity work over the years. What kinds of things have you done to help out in your community?
It's funny because outside of wrestling, I'm actually a licensed optician. Um, so I sell glasses for a living. But I've done a lot of work with like youth in the Nashville community, helping kids get glasses that can't afford them, helping families that need you know that optical help get it where they need to. Um, Worked with a lot of groups in Nashville, the Lions Club, things like that. to just help families in need get optical help and things like that. So,
Interesting. How long have you been involved with that?
um, let's see, I've been in optical for 13 years. So probably the last 8 or 9, ever since I've really kind of moved over and gotten licensed and everything. It's easier to do once you're licensed in Tennessee, um, because you get access to more avenues and venues and things like that. But I've also worked with senior communities. I've done a lot of driving out to senior citizen homes, and helping them, helping those patients that can't get to an optical center, get glasses, get them measured up, bringing frames, helping them find things that they can choose from. So, that's been that's my other passion is, and it's funny because I kind of fell into it, but once I fell into it, I fell in love with it. So yeah, it's what I've been doing since I was, yeah, about 29 or 30,
I think that's
is working with the vision community. As someone who has really bad vision himself, I've always wanted to make sure kids didn't have to go through not wearing glasses when they really need them. So
Well, I think it's fascinating for someone that goes into that field because you don't really hear a lot of people talk about the importance of uh, vision and seeing and and wearing glasses if need be.
yeah.
What made you decide to enter that industry?
Originally, I got into optical as it was a holdover. I went to school for something else, medical billing and coding stuff, and there wasn't really a job in the Mount Juliet area for that at the time, which is where I was still living. And I was about to get married. I had a kid on the way. I didn't want to drive all over creation, um, but I found a job in Mount Juliet working for an eyeglass place. And I was like, well, I'll stay here for 6 months. I'll stay here till I find something in what I went to school for. Well, that was, like I said, 11, 12 years ago now, and I'm still doing it. I just kind of fell in love with it. Once it's that moment of seeing the first time a kid gets a pair of glasses that's, 8, 9 years old and they've never seen leaves on trees. It's the moment where you've got the older person that hasn't had glasses in 2 years because they couldn't afford them, and they finally, get to see pictures of their kids and their grandkids and stuff. Um, a lot of it is just retail sometimes, but it is something I really love now. And it's just that element of helping people. That it's so funny. It's so opposite from how I am in the ring, but it's just that element of doing something that really helps somebody and helping them see the world, literally and figuratively again. So
Was there one particular moment, or if you have a story that you might want to share about a time where you were able to help someone uh, find new glasses or help them uh, kind of figure out a way for them to see better?
yeah, I actually had a kid come in. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago. Um, and his prescription was super high. And he was an immigrant from another country. Parents didn't speak any English, and he needed above and beyond what his insurance would cover, kind of deal. Because even what his insurance would cover, it wasn't going to work for him properly. So I got with some local charities in the area, mostly the Lions Club. They're really good about this stuff. And we got the funds together to get the kid the frame he wanted, the lenses he needed. And he came in and he was literally in tears because he hadn't seen anything. Like he had been wearing like his brother's glasses since we had a translator come in, and they told me like he'd been wearing his brother's glasses, but they were way off of his prescription. So he's in tears. His mom's crying. I'm crying. It was just a whole thing, but it was such a cool moment just to know that that kid in that moment finally saw what the rest of us could see. That one sticks with me.
Yeah, I mean that's a moment where you made a difference in their life.
Yeah.
And it's so many people out there that just you know, they've had trouble seeing, or they need a new pair of glasses because their old ones, they don't work anymore. They don't fit. Something's wrong with it.
Yeah,
And so to be able to help get those people to where they need to be, I mean, it really is an amazing feeling to be able to uh, make a difference.
yeah,
And
it's awesome.
yeah, what is it about giving back to your community that gives you the most joy?
Um, you know, so I grew up, I'm not gonna say privileged, but I grew up in a nice upper middle class, family, and I went to private schools growing up and things like that. So I didn't realize until I was older what the real world, let's say, has to deal with. And so now that I see people come in and they're, more unfortunate than me. I mean, I have a great life. I got a beautiful home, beautiful kids, wife, the whole deal, So it's nice to know that I can make somebody's day a little bit brighter. That's my goal every day. When I'm helping a patient, even if it's somebody just getting a regular pair of glasses, just if they can leave in a better mood than they came in with, like that's what I try to do every day. Like whether where I'm trying to ruin people's nights on Saturday nights, the rest of the rest of the week is spent. Hey, let me make sure that if nothing else, if you have a crap day, at least for that 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you're with me, that part wasn't so bad. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you're helping these kids or adults, um, try to be able to get their vision repaired or get to be able to wear different kinds of glasses if they need help with something, and you're there to make them feel good about themselves, and that's what we need is
Yeah,
people that are there for others, and that's what you're doing. So kudos to you
appreciate
for
that.
being able to. Yeah. Well, Nick, before we go, where do you see yourself in the wrestling business going forward? I know you got a big storyline going on right now. What is your goal, eventual goal in the wrestling business?
Man, it's so funny. Like the when I was coming up, it was always I never wanted to be the WWE guy or AEW, whatever. I just wanted to get on like the big indie shows, right? Well, now I'm in my 40s. I just want to make the fans that are seeing me remember what we're doing. If I never leave CHW or if I only work Tennessee Indies, I just want people that leave those shows to remember what me and Josh and JC did on that show. I want people to go home and go, man, that show was cool. But what was really cool? Those dudes that wore the faces. You know, like I want it to be that's where I'm at in my life now. I just want to make the best of every show I'm on. And then I want to take like even the end of our run before COVID and all the craziness. I want to make sure that the kids that are on these shows, like the younger guys, we leave it better for them. We took guys like Little Mikey Dunn, Poncho Arp, Austin Wright, 7 years ago. We took those guys under our wing and we're like, you're our kids. We're going to protect you. And now look at those guys. Like they're on the precipice of greatness, all three of them. I could see any of them being on huge indies within the next 2 to 3 years. So now I want to take younger guys like AJ Hall and Snyder and those guys and go, okay, what can we manifest with you guys to make you ready for huge opportunities? That I just want to leave the business better now. It's not about me anymore. It's about the business because I love professional wrestling. It's my first love. It'll be my last love. Like it. I will probably have a pro wrestling funeral somehow, some way.
Well, you're giving back, I mean, to the young guys, and you're helping to foster the next generation of stars, and I think
Yeah,
that's very important too,
yeah,
because you're leaving that legacy behind. And I think CHW is an incredible promotion, and I look forward to seeing its growth in the years to come.
yeah. It's amazing. I never thought a show in Ashland City could do what this show does. And for it to be, I tell people too, it's like such two different experiences. I'll make this quick because I never get close to you, but it's it's a cool Southern indie to go see in person, right? But then you watch the YouTube show and you realize all the cool angles and effects and like the crazy stuff that the production team is doing with like me and Josh and JC and Young Ryan and Jason Xavier, like that whole angle and the over the top, like Lucha Underground-esque things we're doing with that. It's there's something for everybody in CHW. And that's what I love the most. Like, give me a show that I can take the kids to, and then give me a show that I can show to college kids. That's where you make your money, and that's where I think CHW, under Aaron's leadership as a booker, is going to go crazy over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
I told somebody the other day, I said, if the right person sees our YouTube show, we're going to blow up in a crazy way.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. Here's
Yeah.
hoping. Yeah.
Definitely look forward to continue to be a part of that success. I think that CHW is doing amazing things, and it will continue to do amazing things in the future. Nick, this has been wonderful to talk with you. I want to say thank you for coming on to Wrestling with Heart. It means a lot to me and to my listeners and viewers that are watching this on YouTube. Where can people find out more about you on social media and all the cool things you're doing?
Dude, I'm not a big social media guy. I do have the Twitter, which is at the Ace Nick White. I have the Instagram, which is like it's Nick White, but there's numbers and letters. You can find it if you look on my Facebook. The Facebook is Nicholas Maglio. There's my shoot name. I've ruined it for everybody. Yeah, that's the big places you can find me, and definitely check out CHW Wrestling on Facebook and YouTube. So you can see all the ridiculousness that we're doing right now. And also, if you're an E-Fed guy, check out iWrestling, where I'm the World Heavyweight Champion. I told my buddies I was going to shout them out. So yeah, iWrestling, World Heavyweight Champion right there.
All right. Well, Nick, thanks again, and you're more than welcome to come back.
Hey, man, anytime you want me, I'll be around.
All right. Take care.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye. This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.
Once you connect the dots, it's just that thing that you can't unsee.
It's 2 books. The first book is I Am. It's about you as a person, and the second book is about leadership.
It's a totally different perspective from what school teaches or college teachers or anybody even talks about.
It unlocks something in their minds that gives them a superpower.
I don't think the average person really considers this.
This really opens up your mind.
It's like nothing I've ever seen before.